Welcome back to our fourth video in the Meeting Tanares Adventures video series. This video focuses on villain turn order, additional villain behavior, new conditions and effects. Villain turn order. In Arena the Contest, turn order was very simple, but also very easy to exploit by focusing down one enemy at a time before a villain could even get a chance to respond. In Tanares Adventures, turn order is more nuanced. Heroes will still go first and get to choose their order of action every round. But now, after a villain that is not fatigued is attacked, that villain will get to retaliate with his actions before another hero can begin their turn. Only the first villain attacked will get to respond regardless of using an AoE attack or having an effect or passive that will damage another villain. For example, Jessa uses double channeling on the blue orc, and the effect damages the red orc. Then, the blue orc retaliates against Jessa since she is the furthest target, but the red orc will not get to retaliate. After a villain completes his turn, you will place a fatigue cube next to that villain card to indicate he has taken his turn and is now fatigued. Once all heroes have finished their turns for the round, if there are any villains that have not been fatigued yet, they will act with the unprovoked damage bonus of +5 damage. Players will choose the order of the remaining unprovoked villains. The next round, we will start over again with heroes going first. This new system of turn order forces the heroes to make more strategic decisions about which villains to attack, positioning of the heroes, and risks of not attacking other villains. Villain behavior. In the last video, we discussed villain cards and how villains will attack, but there is slightly more to how a villain can accomplish his goal of slaying those pesky heroes. There are 3 priorities a villain considers when taking his turn. The following are listed from highest to lowest priority. 1. The target. 2. The shortest path. 3. Villain safety. The target. This was covered in the last video, but as a short recap, the villain will look at his favorite target type to determine who he should attack. Next, the villain must consider if they can reach the target with their 5 movement, accounting for any movement impairing tiles like ruins. If the villain would die in an attempt to reach the favorite, then the target is considered unreachable. The villain would then choose the next favorite target and repeat this logical step again until the villain can't reach any target. Then she triggers Dark Surge, which we will come back to this shortly. Shortest path. The villain must now determine the shortest path to reach the favorite target without dying. If several paths tie as the shortest, take the path that deals the least amount of damage. After the path is determined, the villain will begin to move through it, regardless of any other actions from heroes. In this example, the villain has 7 hit points, and the shortest path is through lava. If a hero skill deals 3 damage to the villain will continue to step into the lava and die. Villain safety. The last priority in these sequential steps is for the villain to avoid unnecessary damage. For example, the villain will sidestep to avoid reaction attack damage or move out of lava without leaving the range or vision of its favorite target. Finally, the villain will make its attack on the hero. Dark Surge. Dark Surge activates if the villain cannot reach a target following the priorities listed above. Then he will activate Dark Surge, which gives the villain 5 additional movement to make an attack on the closest hero or companion. The villain will take 2 damage to activate this ability, but it allows the villain a chance to still attack the heroes, even if the heroes are purposefully trying to stay at range. New conditions. Tanares Adventures brings 5 new types of conditions that provide either boons or debuffs to the heroes or villains of the game. Bleeding. Bleeding deals X amount of damage each time the affected combatant leaves a square, forced or otherwise. It's considered used at the end of the turn when it deals any damage. A tactic for ending the effect while taking minimal amount of damage is moving only one square. In this example, Qatar has Bleed 2. He can take 3 steps to attack the target, but he will suffer 6 damage in doing so. Otherwise, he can take 1 step and suffer only 2 damage and remove the token, but he will be out of reach for his attack this turn. Distracted. Distracted gives an X penalty to the attack roll. If X amount is not given, it is assumed of -3 to the attack roll. Steady. Steady is an X bonus to the attack roll. If X amount is not given, it will be assumed of a +3 to your attack roll. Preserved. If a combatant with 1 or more preserved tokens would drop below 1 HP, remove 1 token and its HP becomes 5 instead. In this example, the orc does 15 damage, but an aerial is preserved and recovers to 5 hit points. Shielded. Reduces damage by an X amount when the combatant is hit or missed by an attack. This also reduces residual damage. Shielded does not reduce damage from reaction attacks, passive powers, effects, terrain, or skill trees. In this example, Sidura is shielded 3. The goblin does 11 damage to her, so she would normally drop to 7, but since she is shielded, she only goes to 10. New effects. 6 new effects have been added to the game that provide new strategies for the battlefield. Dispel. Remove up to X condition tokens from combatants. Unless specified otherwise, you may remove a total of X from any number of combatants in range 8 of you. In this example, Dispel 3, and there are 2 combatants in range 8. You may remove 2 tokens from one and 1 token from the other. Run. The combatant takes the shortest path towards a target, moving X squares at most. If X amount is not given, it is assumed range 8. Flee. The combatant moves X squares towards one of the furthest possible destinations from something, like an inverted run. To clarify, flee and run are both forced movements, so neither incite reaction attacks, just like the benefit moves. Echo. Deal X amount of damage to the enemy's closest ally in range 8 of it. Blast. Blast deals X amount of damage to all other enemies in range 1 of the target. Steal. Steal removes X amount of mana cubes from the target's mana pool. That wraps it up for villains. In the next video, we will be discussing quests. We will cover how to set up a quest cards, using the quest book, and a few other rules. We'll see you at the next one.